The early sunlight caught the badge on Officer Rourke's chest, bright enough to blind, sharp enough to threaten. Malik Harris sat on the park bench, earbuds in, a coffee cooling beside him. He wore a tailored charcoal hoodie and running shoes worth more than most rent checks. The pigeons didn't care who he was, neither did the children laughing by the fountain. Only Rourke did ID, the officer said. Not a greeting, a verdict. Malik looked up, confused. I'm just sitting here, man. Rourke's lips curled. You people always are, until you're not. Something inside Malik twitched, a cold, old ache. He knew this pattern. He'd funded diversity scholarships, rebuilt police youth programs, yet here he was, the suspect in someone else's mind. Rourke's hand lingered near his holster. Not touching, just threatening presence. A jogger slowed, glanced, then quickened away. Phones hovered, filming. Malik's throat tightened as the officer's radio crackled. Dispatch. We've got a possible vagrant refusing to identify. The word vagrant hit harder than any slur. Malik reached slowly for his wallet. His breath stayed measured. Don't move. The command split the morning air. Birds scattered, coffee spilled. Malik froze, staring at the shaking barrel of Rourke's gun. Sir, please, he whispered. Rourke sneered. You think that hoodie hides who you are? The safety clicked. Cameras kept rolling. Then a woman's voice cut through the air, sharp, panicked, unmistakable. Officer, that's Malik Harris. He's on the board of the City Foundation. The gun wavered. The world held its breath. The wind carried the smell of wet earth and cut grass. Malik Harris adjusted his earbuds, the jazz track low and steady, an anchor. He'd come to this park for peace. A morning run, a moment to think before the board meeting at 11. Morning, sir, a voice said behind him, neutral, professional, then sharper. Got some ID on you. Malik turned. The officer was young but hard-eyed, his uniform pressed too tight. I'm sorry, Malik said. I said, ID. I'm not doing anything wrong. The officer's hand brushed his belt. Didn't ask what you were doing, asked who you are. Malik felt the shift, air thinning, heartbeat slowing. I'm just enjoying the park. Rourke's tone flattened. You match a description. That phrase again, always the same incantation before trouble. Of what? Malik asked. Suspicious male, dark hoodie, loitering near the playground. Malik gestured toward the families and joggers. You think I'm loitering? I think you're stalling, Rourke said. ID, now. Malik inhaled deeply, eyes on the badge. Officer, I'll cooperate, but hands where I can see them. Several heads turned, phones lifted. Malik's pulse hammered. He moved slowly, deliberately, producing his wallet. My name is Malik Harris. You can look it up. Rourke took the ID, studied it, smirked. Harris, that's supposed to mean something. It's supposed to mean, I'm a citizen. The officer circled him like prey. You live around here? Yes. In that fancy neighborhood on the hill? Yes. You work? Malik's patience thinned. Yes. What do you do? I fund things, Malik said evenly. Scholarships, youth programs, sometimes police training. Rourke's laugh was a dry cough. You expect me to believe that? Malik met his eyes. You don't have to believe. You just have to stop harassing me. A crowd gathered now, silent witnesses, orbiting fear. Someone muttered, just let him go, man. Rourke turned. Step back. He shoved Malik's shoulder, not hard, just enough to humiliate. Malik stumbled but caught himself. His face stayed expressionless, muscles locked. Officer, I'm not resisting. Could have fooled me. Radio static cracked. Unit 12, status. Detaining a non-compliant suspect, Rourke replied. None, Malik repeated softly. That's what you call standing still. Rourke moved faster this time, grabbing Malik's wrist, twisting it behind his back. The handcuffs snapped cold against skin. The click echoed through the park. Voices rose, disbelief, anger, recording phones, blinking red. Officer, someone shouted, that's Malik Harris. He's a donor. Rourke froze mid-move. His expression flickered confusion, then disbelief. What? Malik stared ahead, jaw set. Check your system, Malik said quietly. You'll find my name in your department's funding records. Rourke hesitated. The radio hissed. Confirm identity, dispatch ordered. Rourke's grip loosened, uncertainty spreading across his face. You're telling me you... Malik didn't answer. The silence said enough. The crowd murmured, tension breaking into a wave of shame and awe. Rourke unclipped the cuffs, stepping back as if burned. Misunderstanding, he muttered. Malik rubbed his wrists, eyes unreadable. Keep your apology, he said, thought. Then he walked away, the weight of 50 stares pressing on his back. Rourke stood frozen, badge gleaming like guilt. Overhead, a drone buzzed, the hum of exposure already beginning. By noon, Malik's face was everywhere. A shaky phone video titled "Officer Harasses Black Man at City Park" had gone viral before his morning coffee cooled. It played on loops across networks, split-screened between commentators and hashtags. Another day, another incident, one anchor said, but this time, the target is billionaire philanthropist Malik Harris. Malik sat in his penthouse office, blinds half drawn, the skyline sterile and far away. His assistant, Dana, hovered at the door, phone pressed to her ear. "They're asking for a statement," she said quietly. "CNN, The Times, Channel for Everyone." Malik didn't look up. "Tell them nothing, not yet." His PR director, Harold, stepped in. "We can't stay silent. The narrative's forming without you. You look weak, defensive." "I look human," Malik interrupted. "They can deal with that." Harold hesitated. "This could undo everything we've built." Malik turned to the TV, freeze frame, his body half-cuffed, Rourke's hand on his wrist. The headline below read, "Billionaire Detained Race, Power, and Policing Collide." Malik exhaled through his nose. "You mean everything you built," he said softly. That evening, outside police headquarters, protesters chanted, signs lifted, "Justice for Malik, stop racial profiling." Reporters shoved microphones at anyone who looked angry enough. Rourke's image flickered. Beside Malik's on screens, side by side, predator and prey, immortalized in pixels. Inside the precinct, Rourke sat in the captain's office, jaw tight. "They're saying I profiled him," he muttered. The captain's gaze was cold. "You did. I followed procedure. You embarrassed this department." Rourke looked down. He played the victim. "They all do." The captain's tone was acid. "You don't get it, do you? That man funds our youth division. He's got friends in City Hall." Rourke's jaw worked. "So, money changes the rules." "No," the captain said. "Publicity does. At home." Malik sat with his mother on speakerphone, her voice cracked and trembling. "Baby, I saw it. You okay?" "I'm fine, Mom." "No, you're not." He didn't answer. "You think you'd be safe with all that money," she whispered, "but they still see you the same way." Malik closed his eyes. "I know." The line went quiet, shared exhaustion, centuries deep. Later that night, Harold called again. "The board wants to meet. They're worried about optics." "Optics," Malik repeated. "Donors are pulling inquiries. People want reassurance." Malik stood by the window, watching the protest lights flicker miles below. "Tell them I'm reassured." "They aren't." Malik, end of call. He hung up. In a newsroom across town, journalist Sophia Nguyen replayed the footage for the 5th time. Her editor leaned over her shoulder. "You chasing that?" he asked. "Something's off," she said. "The body cam report doesn't match the civilian video." He frowned. "You think the cop falsified?" "I think the story's bigger than a bad cop," she said. "It's a system that protects him until it doesn't." Her editor shrugged. "Dig but careful, City Hall's on edge." At 2 a.m., Malik scrolled through his inbox. Thousands of messages, some supportive, some venomous. One subject line froze him. "You should have stayed in your lane." He clicked. Just one line inside. "Next time, there won't be cameras." He leaned back, staring at the dark window, reflection his own face fractured by city light. Morning broke with headlines. Mayor promises review. Police union defends officer, city divided over park incident. Malik's phone buzzed nonstop. Dana entered again, pale. "The foundation's press conference is in an hour. They're expecting you." He nodded once, voice low. "Cancel it. Cancel." "I'm not their shield today." Outside, on the street, protesters held candles. A reporter asked a woman, "Why are you here?" She answered simply, "Because it could have been my brother, my son, any of us." The camera lingered on her face, ordinary, fierce, unflinching. Back in the office, Malik stood before the muted television. His reflection hovered against the news ticker. He whispered to himself, voice dry, almost detached, "They don't see a man, they see a reminder." And as he turned away, the screen behind him showed Officer Rourke entering internal affairs for questioning, expression grim, the system already moving to protect itself. The world was watching now. The corridor outside, internal affairs, smelled of stale coffee and paper dust. Fluorescent light flickered overhead, washing everything in bureaucratic gray. Malik sat opposite a closed door marked Interview Room 4. A clock ticked above its low. Indifferent. Dana leaned against the wall, scrolling her phone. "You don't have to be here in person," she murmured. "Your lawyer said he can handle it." Malik's eyes stayed on the door. I want to see how they handle it. Inside, muffled voices Rourke's, low and defensive, then sharper tones, official but rehearsed. Malik could almost script it. I feared for my safety. He made a sudden movement. Training kicked in, the language of absolution. A sergeant stepped out moments later, stiff smile. Mr. Harris, they'll see you now. The room was colder than the hallway. Two investigators sat behind a steel table, laptops open, their names barely registered: Sanders and Bloom. Plain clothes, polite distance. Mr. Harris, Sanders began, tone courteous, rehearsed. We appreciate your cooperation. Malik nodded once. Appreciation doesn't restore dignity. A brief silence. Bloom cleared her throat. We reviewed the footage. The officer's behavior appears excessive, but he reports feeling threatened. Malik raised an eyebrow. By what? My coffee. Sanders shifted. His statement suggests you refused identification. I gave it to him. He claims you delayed compliance. Malik leaned forward. So now courtesy has a time limit. The air tightened. Bloom avoided eye contact. Typing notes. We're assessing whether the incident meets the criteria for misconduct. Sanders said. Criteria. Malik repeated, the word dry on his tongue. You mean whether it embarrasses the department enough to care? Sanders' jaw clenched. That's not fair. Malik met his gaze evenly. Neither was that morning. Outside, reporters swarmed as Malik exited. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. Mr. Harris, do you believe race played a role? Will you sue the department? Are you pressing charges? Malik stopped on the steps. Voice level. I believe the footage speaks for itself. Can you elaborate? He looked straight into the nearest lens. No. You just need to listen for once. He walked away before they could spin it into sound bites. Inside the same building, Rourke sat alone in another room. His lawyer whispered beside him, don't admit bias. Use procedural language. Rourke rubbed his temples. They're crucifying me online. That's temporary. The union's backing you. Stick to the script. He stared at the table's reflection. He looked at me like I was beneath him. Doesn't matter how he looked. What matters is your justification. Rourke's voice dropped. He wanted me to feel small. His lawyer frowned. Then, congratulations. You gave him the footage to prove it. Rourke's jaw tightened. Words caught behind his teeth. That night, Malik met with the Foundation's board. The room was sleek. Glass walls. Polished restraint. Faces around the table looked sympathetic but distant. Malik, we stand with you, said Eleanor, the chairwoman. But we have to think strategically. Our donors are nervous. Nervous, Malik repeated. Because I was humiliated. Because they don't want the foundation politicized. It was political the moment a badge replaced humanity. Malik said. Silence. Someone cleared their throat. Eleanor folded her hands. We need to control the message. Malik's smile was brittle. You don't control this message anymore. He stood, leaving the meeting mid-sentence. Behind him, whispered debate containment already in motion. At home, Malik's lawyer called. Internal Affairs won't commit to discipline yet. They'll drag this out. Standard practice. How long? Months, maybe a year. They want you to cool off. Lose momentum. Malik stared out the window at the city lights. They'll lose something first. Meanwhile, at the precinct, officers gathered around Rourke's desk. Laughter, mock sympathy, cheap jokes. Guess you cuffed the wrong rich guy, huh? Rourke forced a smile. Protocol's protocol. Sure. Just don't expect backup next time, one muttered. Their laughter faded as the captain entered. You're on administrative leave, effective immediately. Rourke's face flushed. Pending review, pending outcome, the captain said, then turned away. Rourke watched him go. Hands trembling with anger he didn't understand, or refused to. Late evening, Malik sat alone, watching the footage one last time. Every frame burned. The push, the cuffs, the crowd's silence. His phone vibrated. A text from Sophia Nguyen, the journalist. Mr. Harris, this won't end quietly. I've seen the body cam discrepancies. May I speak with you? Malik stared at the message, thumb hovering. Then he replied, tomorrow, noon. He set the phone down. Outside, the city hummed restless, watching. The system had moved its pieces, so had he. The restaurant was quiet, upscale, and discreet. The kind of place where billionaires and politicians met to trade favors over seared halibut. Malik chose it not for the food, but for privacy. Sophia Nguyen sat across from him, a recorder discreetly visible between them. Off the record first, Malik said. She nodded. He exhaled slowly. You've seen the footage. You know what happened. I do, Sophia replied. But what I don't understand is why you didn't use your influence immediately. You could have crushed this story. Malik's eyes hardened, because I wanted people to see what happens when I don't. Her pen froze midair. You wanted the world to see you humiliated. I wanted the truth to be undeniable, he said. Money can hide bruises. It can't erase fear. Sophia studied him. And now that the fear's public, now they can't pretend it's rare. Rourke's throat worked. He was sitting there, watching people. You mean, existing? Laughter rippled faintly through the audience before the gavel restored silence. The attorney pressed on. Were you aware of Mr. Harris's identity? No. Would it have changed your behavior? Rourke froze. Maybe. That single word, caught halfway between truth and reflex, hung in the air like a confession. Sophia sat in the front row, scribbling notes. She could feel the shift, one of those rare moments when an institution starts to fracture under its own hypocrisy. Her editor texted, "This is history. Get every line." She didn't respond. Some stories didn't need commentary. The hearing dragged for hours. Witnesses testified. The jogger who filmed, the woman who'd shouted Malik's name, even the captain who'd tried to minimize the damage. Each account added another layer to the rot. Then came the footage. The body cam, the civilian video, the timestamps. Projected across the chamber. Malik appeared still, calm, harmless. Rourke appeared agitated, escalating, grasping at control. When the scene reached the handcuffing, a collective murmur filled the room. The chairwoman looked stricken. "Officer Rourke," she said quietly, "this is indefensible." After recess, the decision was swift. "Officer Daniel Rourke," the chairwoman announced, "you are hereby terminated from service, effective immediately. Pending criminal review for falsification of evidence." Gasps, shouts, cameras flashing like lightning. Rourke's lawyer rose in protest. "This is political theater." The chairwoman's tone was iron. "This is accountability." Rourke stood, trembling. "You think you've won?" He spat toward Malik. "They'll turn on you too. They always do." Malik didn't respond. He just looked at him, a long, exhausted look that said more than any speech could. Rourke was escorted out. Cameras followed him like vultures. Outside, reporters swarmed Malik as he exited the courthouse. "Mr. Harris, what's your reaction? Do you feel vindicated? Do you think justice was served?" Malik stopped at the top of the steps. His suit was soaked with rain, his voice low but steady. "Justice isn't a verdict," he said. "It's a reminder, one they keep trying to forget." Then he walked down the steps, ignoring the flashes, the noise, the endless hunger for sound bites. That evening, Sophia broadcast her final report from the courthouse steps. "Today's decision won't erase what happened. It won't restore the quiet Malik Harris lost that morning in the park. But it exposes what the city kept hidden, that fear wears a badge, and sometimes justice begins with humiliation." Behind her, protesters lit candles. The city, for once, seemed to listen. At home, Malik turned off the television. His wrists still ached when it rained. The scars weren't visible, but they hummed beneath the skin, a memory of restraint. Ava sat beside him, on the couch. "It's over," she said softly. "No," he replied. "It's just recorded now." Outside, thunder rolled again. The park where it began was quiet, its benches wet, the fountain still, and somewhere, in the silence between raindrops, Malik imagined it's the sound of a safety clicking off, a voice shouting, "Don't move," a world holding its breath. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, he'd walk there again. Not to reclaim it, just to exist in it. 3 months later, autumn light fell across Fairview like a slow exhale. The leaves along Riverside Park had begun to turn gold, drifting over the same bench where everything had happened. Malik stood there again, no cameras, no audience, just him, the wind, and the faint hum of city traffic. He sat, the metal cold beneath his palms. For the first time, no one watched him with suspicion. A jogger passed, nodded politely. A child pointed at the fountain. The world moved forward, almost unaware of what had once fractured here. Almost. The storm hadn't ended. It was only gathering strength by morning. The internet was on fire. A redacted police report leaked to multiple outlets claimed Malik Harris had been verbally combative and resistant to lawful commands. Social media split like fault lines. Some said the department was smearing him. Others clung to the report as proof that the system works. Malik's phone buzzed without pause. Dana stood at the doorway of his office, eyes tight. "They're calling it the Harris incident," she said. "Talk shows, blogs, everyone. The union released a statement backing Rourke. They're painting you as entitled. Malik didn't look up from his laptop. They need the story. Simple rich black man meets reasonable cop. Do you want to respond publicly? He closed the screen. Not yet. That afternoon, his sister Ava arrived unannounced. She paced his living room, restless. You can't just sit here and let them lie. I'm not, Malik said evenly. Then, do something. They dragged your name through the dirt. I expected it. Ava's voice cracked. Why do you always act like this doesn't hurt you? Malik looked at her, tied steady. Because if I show it hurts, they'll call it weakness. If I fight, they'll call it rage. She sank into a chair, whispering, you shouldn't have to calculate your humanity. He sat beside her, quiet. But I do. Meanwhile, in the precinct's media room, Officer Rourke watched the same headlines with a mix of relief and disgust. His lawyer smirked. See, public opinion's shifting. The leak worked. Rourke's jaw tightened. It's still wrong. The lawyer gave a short laugh. You think they care about right or wrong? This is about control. Rourke looked away. The hollow in his stomach deepened. In a newsroom across town, Sophia Nguyen slammed her phone down. They planted that report deliberately. Her editors sighed. Can you prove it? Not yet, but I can prove it's false. He hesitated. You sure you want this fight? It's going to get ugly. It's already ugly, she said. I'm just turning on the lights. By evening, Malik's inbox filled with vitriol. You people always play victim. Money won't buy you respect. Maybe next time. Comply faster. He deleted them one by one, fingers steady but slow. Then came one message, different tone, familiar pain. My son went through the same thing. You're not alone. Malik stopped scrolling. The words hit harder than hate ever could. The following morning, Sophia called. I'm ready to publish, she said. I have proof of report tampering, but if I do, they'll come for me. Malik's voice was calm. Then they'll know your name. That doesn't scare you. He smiled faintly. I stopped living for comfort a long time ago. The article went live at 8:47 a.m. Headline: Police fabricate resistance claim in Harris. Case: body cam evidence contradicts report. Within hours, the city buzzed again. Talk shows shifted tone. Hashtags reversed direction. Anonymous sources whispered about disciplinary hearings. At the precinct, chaos erupted. Officers whispered behind Rourke's back. The captain's office door stayed closed. Rourke's phone lit up with messages. Union reps, reporters, old friends cutting contact. He sat motionless, hands on the table, realizing the machine he'd trusted was turning on him. That night, Malik stood on his balcony as the first protest march passed below. Candles, drums, chants rolling like distant thunder. Dana joined him quietly. They're calling it the Harris March. He shook his head. It's not mine. It's theirs. You know they'll want you to speak. Malik looked down at the faces, flickering in candlelight. I already have. Later, alone, his phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. You think you won? Watch your back. He stared at it, then deleted it. Fear had become white noise. He turned to the window. The city pulsed angry, alive, awake. For the first time in weeks, Malik allowed himself to breathe deeply. The lie had cracked. The truth was bleeding out, but the cost he could already feel it would not be small. Across town, Rourke sat in his car outside headquarters. The glow of his phone lit his face as he scrolled through Sophia's article. Each paragraph cut deeper. The footage, the timestamp mismatch, the internal memo leaked by someone inside. He whispered, barely audible, they're going to bury me. He wasn't wrong. Inside the building, a suspension notice waited on his desk. Malik turned off the lights in his office and stood still, listening. The hum of the city below felt different, now charged, unpredictable, alive. The system had drawn first blood, but now it was bleeding too. He whispered to himself, they made me a symbol. I'll make sure it means something. Rain streaked the newsroom windows as Sophia Nguyen uploaded her next report. The story was complete. Now timelines, audio leaks, frame-by-frame breakdown of the bodycam footage. Each image dismantled the department's defense. Each quote stripped away the lie. Her editor hovered behind her. You're burning every bridge we have with the city. Sophia didn't look up. Then we'll build new ones on the truth. He hesitated. You've made enemies, Sophia, she hit publish. So has Malik. At the same moment across town, Malik walked into a small conference room. His lawyer, his PR chief, and Dana waited. The atmosphere was taut. The report hit an hour ago. Harold, the PR head, said, It's everywhere. The city's in damage control. Malik folded his arms. Good. Not entirely, the lawyer added. The police union's calling for Sophia's arrest, claiming theft of confidential evidence. She exposed corruption, Malik said. The lawyer leaned in. Corruption fights back. Outside, protesters filled downtown streets again, umbrellas glowing in the rain like lanterns. Chants echoed through the night. Justice for Malik. Truth overpowered. Malik watched from the window, rain tapping the glass like static. They're not out there for me, he murmured. They're out there because they're tired. Dana glanced at him. Then give them something to believe in. He turned from the window. Belief doesn't change systems. Exposure does. The precinct. Rourke faced 2 internal affairs officers. The same walls he'd once walked with pride now felt hostile. One investigator slid a file across the table. Body cam shows inconsistencies between your statement and footage. Can you explain that? Rourke's fingers twitched. I must have remembered wrong in the moment. The officer's stare was blank. You remembered wrong about a firearm being drawn. I felt threatened, Rourke snapped. He was confrontational. Footage shows him seated. Calm. He offered ID. Rourke's mouth opened, then shut. The silence was final. News broke within hours. Officer under investigation for falsified report. The department scrambled to contain fallout. A press conference followed, hastily arranged. The police chief, stone-faced, promised accountability pending review. Reporters shouted questions. Was there a cover-up? Will the officer face criminal charges? The chief's jaw twitched. Will ensure a transparent process. The phrase empty rehearsed only fueled the fire. That night, Malik sat in his living room watching the broadcast. The same station that once dissected his tone now replayed Rourke's lies in slow motion. Ava called. It's happening, she said. They can't bury it anymore. Malik's voice was soft. Truth doesn't erase damage, Ava. It just illuminates it. You sound tired. I am. She hesitated. You did the right thing. I didn't do anything, he said. I just didn't look away. At dawn, Sophia arrived outside Malik's building. He opened the door himself. She handed him a printed copy of her article. Old-fashioned, deliberate. They'll try to discredit me. You might lose friends. Malik nodded. They weren't friends, just business cards. Sophia smiled faintly. Then maybe this was worth it. It's worth it, he said, but not clean. Nothing about this will ever be clean. By midday, the mayor called a televised hearing, a symbolic act but one the city couldn't ignore. Malik sat under glaring lights before the committee table. Cameras crowded the aisles. Officials pretended neutrality. Mr. Harris, a councilman, began. Can you describe your feelings during the incident? Malik's expression didn't change. I felt invisible, then dangerous, then disposable. A murmur rippled through the room. The councilwoman leaned forward. What do you want from this process? Accountability, Malik said. Not just for one officer, for the system that taught him I was a threat. The audience was silent, one of those rare silences that feels like collective reckoning. Outside the building, Rourke watched the hearing from his car. His face was pale, unshaven. The news ticker scrawled his name beneath the footage. He muttered to himself, they'll forget. They always forget. But the cameras kept rolling. As night fell, Sophia's voice played over a montage of city protests on every network. This was never just about one park. It's about the space between power and perception. The moment a man's worth collapses under someone else's fear. Malik Harris stood there once. He stands for something larger now. Malik returned home after midnight. The city was still awake. Horns, chants, helicopters. He sank into his chair, exhaustion heavier than victory. His phone buzzed with messages. Reporters, activists, officials. He silenced them all. On his desk lay a single note from Dana. Tomorrow's hearing could change everything, or nothing. He turned it over and wrote beneath it, either way, I'll be there. He looked out at the rain-washed city. Somewhere out there, people were finally talking, some with rage, some with hope. And for the first time, Malik didn't feel alone in the noise. The courthouse smelled of dust and tension. Reporters lined the marble steps, their microphones raised like bayonets. The city had turned the disciplinary hearing into spectacle justice as broadcast theater. Inside, the chamber filled with cameras, murmurs, restless spectators. A placard read, Public Review, Officer Rourke versus City of Fairview, Police Department. Malik sat at the witness table. Calm, but taut, a storm compressed into stillness. Across from him, Rourke sat flanked by his lawyer and a union representative, both whispering strategy. Rourke's hands shook, barely visible under the table. The chairwoman rapped the gavel. We begin testimony. City Attorney, Mr. Harris, please describe the events of June 12th, in your own words. Malik leaned into the microphone. I was sitting on a park bench, drinking coffee, listening to music. He paused. Cameras zoomed closer. Officer Rourke approached and asked for ID. I complied. Then I was detained, handcuffed, and accused of vagrancy. The attorney nodded. Did you raise your voice or resist? Malik's tone didn't waver. No, I did everything I was taught to do. Stay calm. Don't escalate. Don't die. The audience fell utterly silent. Rourke's lawyer rose. Objection: emotional framing. The chairwoman waved it off. Overruled. Proceed. Malik's gaze drifted toward Rourke, who refused to meet his eyes. I funded programs for this city's police, Malik said. I believed partnership could build trust. That belief ended that morning. The words landed like quiet detonations when Rourke took the stand. His voice was unsteady. I followed protocol, he said. He matched a description of what crime. The attorney interrupted. Rourke hesitated. Suspicious activity reported near the playground. Describe suspicious. After she left, Malik lingered, watching the city through the restaurant's glass wall, traffic glowing like veins under asphalt. His reflection merged with it, half visible, half ghost. He thought of the first time he'd been stopped age 16. Walking home from basketball practice, the officer had called him boy, taken his bag apart on the curb. Malik hadn't cried then, not until later, when his mother told him not to fight back. Just live, baby. Live through it. He'd built an empire out of that sentence: companies, grants, foundations, living through it, over and over, dressed in tailored armor. But no amount of philanthropy had bought safety. At home, the walls of his office displayed framed awards, magazine covers, handshakes with mayors and senators, the same men now sending regretful texts, offering private sympathy and public silence. Dana entered quietly. The mayor's office called again. They want to discuss mediation, no lawsuit, just a formal apology. Malik didn't turn from the window. Tell them I'm not interested in performance. They said it'll look better for both sides. That's the problem, he said. They still think there are sides. Meanwhile, Rourke sat in his darkened apartment, beer bottles collecting on the counter. News anchors dissected his every move. Veteran officer under scrutiny. The captions read, his wife had taken their son to her mother's. He replayed the video again, frame by frame. His own face, a mask of control and contempt, looked alien to him. I didn't mean to, he muttered, but the footage didn't argue. He grabbed the remote and killed the screen. Silence swallowed the room. 2 days later, Sophia published her first piece. The Dona, they doubted. The article painted Malik not as victim, but as mirror reflecting a country that worshipped philanthropy but distrusted the skin behind it. She wrote, he built bridges they still refuse to cross. His money funds their programs, but his presence still threatens their peace. The story spread. Talk shows debated tone, intention, context. Some praised Malik's restraint, others accused him of leveraging race for attention. At the foundation, the board panicked. Donors threatened withdrawal. Eleanor called Malik again. You're destabilizing everything we worked for, she said. I stabilized it too long, Malik replied. Maybe it needed shaking. That evening, he visited the community center he'd built on the city's south side. The kids recognized him instantly. Mr. Harris, they shouted, running up. He smiled, genuine, small. Hey, y'all keeping out of trouble? One boy, about 12, looked up shyly. They said you got arrested. Malik crouched to meet his eyes. They said wrong things before, haven't they? The boy nodded. Double quotes. So, what do we do? Malik asked. The kid thought, then said softly, we keep showing up. Malik's throat tightened. Exactly. Later, walking alone through the empty gym, Malik's phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered. A man's voice, low and bitter. You think this makes you untouchable? You think you can ruin a cop's life? Malik didn't respond. The voice continued. People like you, Mani, don't change what you are. Click. Silence. He stared at the phone a long time before locking it away in a drawer. Fear no longer startled Hammett. Just sat there. A familiar tenant Sophia called that night. They're going to leak the police report, she warned. It's altered claims you resisted. Malik rubbed his temples. Of course it does. Do you want me to publish the discrepancies? Yes, he said, but not yet. Let them lie first. Then we'll show the truth. He looked again at his reflection myth mask, the same face that boards had applauded, the same one that officers had doubted. He whispered to the empty room, voice almost detached. Maybe the mask was never for them. Maybe it was for me. Outside, thunder rolled over the city, soft but promising. Across town, the headlines had faded from front pages, but consequences still rippled quietly. Rourke had been charged obstruction, falsification of evidence, misconduct under color of law. His mugshot circulated briefly before vanishing into the endless churn of scandal cycles. Sophia's report had earned her both awards and death threats. She'd taken a leave from broadcasting, working now on a long-form piece titled Fear and Uniform. Dana's consultancy had restructured its diversity program, turning it into an independent nonprofit under Moloch's foundation, and Moloch reluctant symbol. Accidental Reformer had been invited to speak before the State Commission on Policing. The commission chamber was sterile, fluorescent. Officials whispered behind their nameplates, waiting for sound bites to mine. Moloch adjusted the microphone. 3 months ago, I was another statistic waiting to happen, he began. Now I'm a headline that people quote when they want to sound enlightened. A few uneasy chuckles. He didn't smile. I'm not here to inspire anyone, he continued. I'm here to remind you that systems don't fail, they perform exactly as designed. You just don't like what that looks like on camera. The silence that followed was the kind only truth can create. He closed his notes. Change doesn't start with laws. It starts when you stop seeing fear as evidence. He stood, walked away before applause could cheapen it. Later that evening, Malik and Sophia met in a quiet cafe near the courthouse. She stirred her coffee absent-mindedly. They're still investigating Rourke's supervisors. The city wants it buried. They'll bury the story, Malik said, but not the shift it caused. She nodded slowly. You ever regret making it public? He looked at her. Every day. But silence was worse. She smiled faintly. I wrote something I never published. Why? Because it wasn't journalism. It was prayer. He didn't answer. Sometimes, silence felt like agreement. 2 weeks later, news broke quietly on local channels. Officer Rourke sentenced to 18 months in federal custody. No crowds, no protests, no drama. Just paperwork. A verdict. A system forced to eat its own tail. Sophia didn't cover it. Malik didn't watch it. Justice, when it came, was anticlimactically a door closing on a room already emptied of air. That night, Malik drove back to the park, the same place, the same bench, the sound of the fountain steady, indifferent. He pulled out his phone and read a message from Ava. You're free now, he typed back. No one's free until it stops happening. He didn't hit send. He just sat there, the screen dimming in his hand. A police cruiser rolled slowly by. The officer inside glanced at him, hesitated, then nodded in recognition. Not fear, not challenge, just acknowledgement. It was small, but it was something. At dawn, Malik walked along the edge of the lake, suit jacket slung over his shoulder. Geese cut the water in sharp, precise lines. The city skyline reflected in the ripples, fractured, beautiful, still healing. He remembered the sound of Rourke's voice, the click of the handcuffs, the flash of body cam light. Memory didn't fade, it adapted. A child's laughter broke the reverie. A little boy was chasing pigeons near the path. Malik smiled without realizing it. The boy's mother called out, "Come on, Jay, leave the man alone." Malik shook his head. "It's all right," he said, voice soft. The boy grinned. "You look like the man on the news." Malik crouched to eye level. "I used to be." "Did you win?" the boy asked. Malik looked at the water, the sunlight, the quiet. "Still trying." The boy nodded solemnly, as if that made sense, and ran off. Sophia's documentary premiered online a month later. It opened with Malik's silhouette against the park fountain, rain falling in slow motion. Her voice narrated over the footage. The story of Malik Harris isn't about guilt or innocence. It's about how easily a man's dignity can be suspended between perception and truth. It's about the cost of existing while black, in a system allergic to accountability. And it's about what happens when silence finally breaks. The last frame froze on Malik's eyes, tired, watchful, unbroken, then fade to black. Malik never watched it. He spent that evening reading proposals for new community grants, legal aid, body cam auditing, officer wellness training. He signed them quietly, one after another. When Dana called to congratulate him, he simply said, "It's not redemption, it's maintenance." "Of what?" "Hope," he said. Outside, the park lights flickered on. The city buzzed softly, unaware of the man behind its quiet evolution. Malik sat by the window, rain streaking the glass, his reflection merging with the city lights. Justice hadn't healed him, but it had changed the weather. And for now, that was enough.